Ladies and gentlemen, welcome the fuck in. I am back. It's been a little bit, so thank you for tuning in. I am CBG, and I'm coming to you live today to talk about all things crypto and whatever else I feel like talking about. Hey, it's good to see everybody. It's good to have everybody here. I see there's a few people already in. I was itching to get back at this. I took some time off around the holidays, traveling. But I was very anxious to get back to YouTubing, and I'm not in my normal office setting. I will be back in my normal office setting very shortly, but glad to have everybody here. So we're going to be talking a little bit about what I meant in the thumbnail, which is the fight for your crypto right. We're going to get into that. We'll also get into some charts, but this is a happy hour, so cheers. So today what I am enjoying, actually I can pull it up for you guys. Um, Sorry, I was on there for a bit. So today, what I'm enjoying, I'll actually show you guys. So this is from the St. Augustine Distillery. It is this gin right here. That's what I'm just having that on the rocks. That's what I'm having. Because actually it's very they put a lot of botanicals in this thing. It's a very technical term. They put some botanicals in this thing. It does not taste like a traditional gin if you're familiar with how gins typically taste. Um, Normally, I wouldn't do gin on the rocks. If I had gin, I might throw some lime or club soda in there, some tonic. Um, but I'm just doing this gin on the rocks because it's very smooth, very easy to drink. So this is what I'm having this evening. So I hope everybody has an adult beverage. And good, I at least have a few people with me. So with that being said, I just wanted to, since this is the first time that I'm with you, I wanted to wish everybody a happy new year. I actually had just released a TA video, which has not, it's the lowest viewed video that I've put out on Gala. You might want to check that out. It's a very brief, like 6 minute video. I think it's a combination of it's a combination of me being off YouTube for so long. And also the market has been the market hasn't been salty. It's just been like blah. Like no one's been interested in it, right? And typically, and you know where I'm going to stand on this. Typically, if you know what you're doing and you know what you're investing in, and what you're, if you have a bullish outlook on the market like myself, I mean, this is the best time to be getting in. This is the best time to be DCA in because nobody is talking about it and no one has an interest. So, with that being said, you know what? Before we dig into some of the news information that I wanted to share with you guys, and I'll get to the live chat actually, I'll pull it up on my phone so it's a little bit easier. I thought I'd at least share with you what I've been up to a little bit in the past couple weeks in generalities. So, I took a trip up to northern Florida. The Crypto Bull Goddess is located in northern Florida, so I took a trip up to northern Florida, and we took a road trip. So I actually took a road trip up to see my family in Pennsylvania. They didn't know I was coming up because originally I wasn't slated to come up, and ended up taking a road trip up. But along the way, if you actually follow me on Instagram at Crypto Bull God, you would know this. Took a couple stops along the way. So we stopped in Raleigh, North Carolina. Beautiful location. That was our favorite stop that we took. We stopped in Richmond, Virginia. We stopped in Old Town City, Alexandria, Virginia. Then we were up in Pennsylvania for a while. We celebrated New Year's there. We stopped down. We were in Washington, D.C. for a bit. I've actually, at the age I am, which I'm not going to share with you, it's pretty surprising. I've never seen the White House live in person, and pretty surreal moment for me. I'm not a political guy, you know this, but it was still pretty cool to see the White House up in front, and actually take some videos and stuff. It was really interesting. So we were in Washington D.C. for a bit. We unexpectedly took a detour in Orangeburg, South Carolina, due to some weather, so that was interesting. And then eventually made our way back to northern Florida where we're at here. So it was all around it was a great trip. And to be forthcoming, I mean, I have not celebrated New Year's with my family in a while. So I took the crypto bull goddess and my mom and dad out to a really, 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 really nice dinner. And if you knew my parents, you know they don't get out much. So so it was good. It was good to take them out. So it was a very good time though. I really enjoyed the trip, and I'm looking forward to doing something similar again. I don't know if it's going to happen this year, maybe towards the end of the year, but it was a good time. So I hope everyone enjoyed the holidays. Let's see who we got here. Brian, good to see you in. Good to see some. I mean, I love to see new people, but it's really good to see people who I'm very familiar with as well. So, um, yeah. So Rich, good point on the gin. So this gin, the way I've described gin, typically it's like a pine tree flavor. That's exactly correct. And I've kind of laid off gin in the past several years. I used to drink it more when I was in my 20s, when I was living back in Pennsylvania. Um, I don't know if I've told you. No, I think I've told you guys I lived in Pennsylvania. But that is typically how it is. But this is more floral. It's more floral. It's very like citrusy. It's very, very good. A lot smoother and easier to drink. So with that being said, by the way, share what drink you guys are having for today's happy hour. But with that being said, let's get into what I wanted to cover. It's been a long time since I covered any charts with you guys, any charts. So we're going to cover some charts today. We are going to do a weekly close. Whether I do the weekly close on Sunday or whether I do the weekly close on Monday, we will take a look at a lot of charts. But I have several charts up here that I want to take a look at with you guys. But before we do that, let's get into the title of the thumbnail. So why did I name the thumbnail the way I did? You know, I gotta tell you, this correction. Now I'm really passionate about this, and this is really coming from the heart. I really mean this. This correction has been the hardest, deepest, worst correction I've ever been through. Now for you guys who aren't familiar, I was here. I've been invested. I should say this. I've been invested since early 2018. Okay, so I was here for the 1819 correction. I was here for the beer virus crash. Um, and I've been here for this correction as well. Okay, and there is no question whatsoever that this has been the harshest correction. It has tested me. It has tested me in my conviction, but I have not wavered. Okay, I am extremely passionate about this space, and I feel very convicted and I can't, I can't prove this statement, but what I believe to be a fact that there are a lot of things going on around us, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but there are a lot of people who are interconnected and making it very difficult for people like yourself and myself to remain convicted and invested in this space and believe in the technological innovations that it provides to us moving forward. If you look at the description of this video, it's a quote by Gandhi. First, they ignore us. Then they laugh at us. Then they fight us, which is the stage we're at right now. Then we win. Then we win. And that is truly what I believe. So let's get into the heart of the matter of what I meant by, we really need to fight for our crypto right. Ever since, in particular, since the downfall of FTX and all this debacle with SBF, and I don't want to give him any more attention than he has already gotten. I think he's gotten enough attention. We don't need to talk about that clown. Gary Gensler has been under fire. Gary Gensler is someone, if you're following the space, he's someone who seems to have a loud microphone and he comes out from time to time and speaks to speak, but he doesn't walk the walk. From when you talk to people, when you actually listen to people who are in the space, and whether you respect Ripple as an organization or you don't, if you listen to Brad Garlinghouse as an example, regulation really in the United States, I'm just talking about the United States, has really been regulation by enforcement. That's the way it's been. The SEC has not been an entity that has demonstrated itself to want to understand and learn about the crypto space and to help to regulate and protect investors in the right way possible. Instead, they've been very resistant to regulation, And then you had this whole debacle unwind with FTX. And you have headlines come out like this. Now, this was actually after the debacle, but you see, Chairman Gary Gensler warns of imminent crypto crush. I mean, in many ways, if you've been paying attention to what's been going on, Gary Gensler's been under fire. He's been under fire. Now, he is the SEC chairman, and a lot of people, this is a great example. Here's Representative Tom Emmer. There have been a lot of ties between SBF at FTX and Gary Gensler. Okay. And what some of the questions that are being asked right now, and of course, there's also ties between Alameda Research and Caroline, and also Gary Gensler. So there's a lot of questions being asked right now, and it's up for us we can debate these things, we can have a conversation. No one here knows with certainty. I'm sure there will be a documentary that comes out 20 years from now that's going to look back on all this stuff and speak to all of this. But it seems very suspect at least. And what's being allegated here is that it is possible, given some of the interaction that SBF has had with the government, making donations to Democratic officials, that perhaps Gary Gensler has aided at one point FTX to take some legal loopholes in order to remain running at the rate they were. The other thing that is really interesting is, and this goes down more of a path that is more skeptical in nature, more conspiracy theorist, is whether Gary Gensler or whether SBF has any ties. Sort of, if basically everything that happened at FTX, the downfall of that organization, if it's not as it seems on the surface, that it wasn't just a nerdy kid running an organization who was shoving money off to another organization that gambled and lost it all, that there was something going on underneath the surface to set all that up, um, to result in what has landed us today, to make the case for really harsh regulation. I mean, you have to understand, if you've been paying attention now and you haven't been living under a rock and you've been engaged in the space, Gary Gensler is somebody who has made it very clear, if you listen to his word choices, he's someone who wants to have complete control over the space. He's only come out and indicated that Bitcoin is a commodity. He has also come out and said that nearly all of the other cryptocurrencies in existence are securities. Okay, he's not willing to acknowledge. In fact, he's on record as saying that it would be harmful to the SEC's jurisdiction, or essentially the SEC's jurisdiction over crypto, to come out with new regulatory standards to define crypto. That the old laws that define what a security is, that we don't need to rewrite those laws or amend them in any way to account for the advances in technology of crypto. That crypto, even though those advances in technology supersede old grandfather laws, those old grandfather laws should still, be able to apply to crypto. And the reason for that is he, at the end of the day, wants to make a name for himself. He wants to make a name for himself, and he wants to have regulation over the industry. And it's incidents like this that allow for these conversations to gain momentum. It's incidents like the failure of a major exchange that people like Elizabeth Warren can come out and make statements. Now, if you've ever listened to Elizabeth Warren talk about crypto, she is a great example of somebody who clearly does not understand cryptocurrency. If you've ever listened to her, these things exist in thin air. What are they? I mean, she questions the actual validity of what it is. You just use it for money laundering. This old tactic. People buy crypto just to make gains, just to see appreciation in their investment portfolios. I mean, if you listen to the words that come out of her mouth, to me, as an intelligent individual with common sense, and somebody who is knowledgeable of this space, it certainly comes across as somebody who is being very disingenuous, who's unknowledgeable of the industry, and somebody who has an agenda, right? Here's another situation that just further solidifies the fact that we need to fight for our rights in this industry, and we can't lose that perspective, guys. Here's a situation where Jay Clayton, who was the former SEC head, he comes out and he files a lawsuit against Ripple on his last day. Last day. How shady is that, right? And now look, this is an article from back in 2021. Jay Clayton has now joined a $2 billion firm that supports XRP. You see headlines like this come out, and it's very a lot of the things that you read, if you take it for face value, you're doing yourself a disservice. You really have to get underneath the surface and do a little bit of homework to understand sort of why what is being stated is being stated. Here's another great example, and I want everyone to listen to this very carefully.
Very harsh.
Why do you think it's been so resilient here in the high 16s?
Well, I'll tell you what starts this, because it's phony and a scam. Being propped up by people who need it propped up, and that's all there is. Very harsh. Gold has lost its ability to be a hedge, and we all have to recognize that. I prefer crypto to gold. Wow. He didn't really say that, did he? Yes.
Why do you think
Okay,
it's been
so
resilient here
the
in the
point of me sharing this clip with you is Jim Cramer. Jim Cramer was someone whom I actually used to look to and watch his show, Mad Money, when I was in my 20s. I used to. And I grew up. And I became what is known as an adult. And I educated myself. And I just found that he's a personality on TV, right? The thing you have to understand about Jim Cramer is, again, and this all gets back to the thumbnail behind the video, you guys need to know why you're in this. You need to remain convicted that you've done your due diligence and you know why you're invested in this space and why you're invested in the projects that you are. If you are going to listen to mainstream media and that's going to influence your investment decisions, I promise you're going to lose out. Here is a clear example of somebody who, when things were going wild in crypto, things were going crazy, Bitcoin's going up astronomically, Ethereum's going up astronomically, Jim Cramer's talking to Anthony Pompliano, and he's getting in Bitcoin and saying this is the best thing, and clearly he had no fucking clue even what crypto was. He had a very surface level understanding, right? And as soon as things hit the fan, shit hits the fan, what does he come out and say? This is the kind of bullshit that he's been saying. It is scary to me that there are people with a microphone who have the loudest voices, who can influence so many people in the world, are looking at the downfall of a centralized exchange and then tying that to crypto as a broad and saying crypto is a scam, crypto's going to die, crypto's used for money laundering. It's an excuse to come out with that. It's a reason for people who are uneducated to come out with these narratives. You really have to stick to your guns and know why you got into this industry and why you're investing, or you're going to get weeded out. I promise you that. That I can promise you. Make your own individual personal financial decisions. If you base your own personal financial decisions, whether it be in crypto or whether it be in another industry, based on a clown like this on TV or based on mainstream media's narratives and headlines on CNN or Fox News or MSNBC, you will lose out, and I promise you that. You really need to fight. You need to understand why you're in this space and not lose conviction. These are the times, in my educated view, these are the absolute motherfucking times to be DCAing. And whether it be 6 months out or a year out or 2 years out, whatever the time horizon is, if you remain dedicated, never financial advice, but if you remain dedicated and you know what you're investing in and you're not listening to clowns like this and you're not listening to assholes like SEC Gary Gensler and clearly Elizabeth Warren, who knows nothing about crypto, if you're not getting weeded out, you will be rewarded, in my opinion. So with that being said, I'll check the comments real quick. With that being said, we're going to get into some charts here. Again, it's good to be back with everyone. We're going to get into the bread and the butter of this channel. I've missed charting, sharing some charts with you guys. We're going to examine a couple key charts to see if we have any questions. I don't know who slurs their speech more, Cramer or Biden. Yeah, good call. One other thing I want to share with you guys. I think I shared this on a live stream with you before we get into the charts. No names of individuals, obviously, and no names of exchanges, obviously. But when you see what's going on with the government and how far behind the US is in regulating crypto, okay, and there's not clear guidance for crypto organizations like Ripple who are seeking clarity, whoever you're talking about, I actually had the opportunity to meet someone who used to work for a prominent exchange. Okay. And at this prominent, it was a U.S. exchange. And at this prominent U.S. exchange, this individual had the opportunity to be in meetings that involved individuals, which included SEC Chairman Gensler. And essentially, what this individual told me, which was very disheartening, is a lot of the things that you guys and I talk about, and a lot of what you see on other good YouTube channels about the government being fucking clueless on how to regulate the industry is true. People at the exchange listening to SEC officials, listening to the government, listening to what they wanted to see from this exchange and the information. It didn't make any sense what they were asking for and how they wanted to regulate things. So, what we are talking about on the inside here outside of mainstream media is reality. I mean, the U.S. really doesn't have a fucking clue what it's doing. And you can't lose sight of the fact that there are a lot of technological innovations that a lot in the financial industry have a lot to lose by. Okay. So, and their pockets are deep. So they're going to do what they can to resist change that could negatively disrupt their way of doing business. With that being said, I can see it's getting a little dark on the camera. Hey. With that being said, let's get into some of the charts. So, this is a weekly view on Bitcoin. Okay, it's good to see that we're starting to break out of this downward channel. You can see with this green candle here. The downward arrow is just indicating the upward. You can see we're just focus on the RSI. You can see we're seeing upwards movement on the RSI's prices moving down. That's some some bullish divergence playing out. We've also temporarily broken above. Now this is on a weekly, okay? So we've broken above downward resistance. You can see downward, 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 and we've broken out above it, which is positive, But what we need is a week. We need to see how the week closes, guys. If we get a wick that closes underneath this gray line, right? Let's just pretend the gray line was here and it wicked to here. That doesn't mean anything for us. But if we close out the week on Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, okay, and we're anywhere above this gray line, that's a very positive thing. And again, anytime, I've said this many times before, anytime we're under a downward trend like this, if we break above it, it's very common to come and back test it. But you want to see it back test from a bullish perspective as support and then come up and start to retest some of these areas. Now, if you said to me on first glance at this chart, CBG, when would you start to feel really bullish on the market? Okay. Now, I suspect nothing has changed about what I've told you. January through March, the first quarter, I don't expect anything super exciting. Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin could come up here to 25,000. Hell, maybe it even starts to climb up closer to 30,000, but we're going to get a pretty good correction. I would take an educated guess that even if we get that high, we would get a nice, healthy, solid correction after that. So I don't see anything especially exciting happening in January through March. Where I'm going to start to get excited, where I think this is going to start to play out in the second half of 2023. And again, I'm still on record as saying Bitcoin's going to create new all-time highs this year and hit 100,000 plus. I have said that. You know that from a live stream if you've been here for a while, several months ago. Let's take a look at something here. We have a high, a low, and a lower high. When I would start to get really excited is when we take out this lower high right here. Now, what does that actually mean? Well, the candlestick here went as high as 48,200. So let's draw a line here. So when price gets all the way up, we're going to make this at 40. Let's just make it very simple, 4820. When we get above 48,200, okay, when price gets, you can see how far down below we are. We're at about 19,000 right here. So we have to come all the way up here. Once we get a weekly close above 48,200, I'm going to start to get very excited because the odds are increasing that we're going to start to test up towards this $60,000 to $70,000 range. And as you know, any area of resistance that is hit multiple times weakens. So if we have resistance, and I could just draw a very simplistic resistance range right around there. I'll just draw it right around there at about let's just say 65,000. If we start coming up towards 65,000 again, that resistance is going to get weaker for the third time we hit it, right? And it has a higher likelihood of breaking. So once we break around 48,200, that's when I'm personally going to get really excited. But what else could we get excited about in this chart? Now, I just tweeted this out. If you guys have been subscribed to this channel for a while, you know I went through the historical context. The historical what? Did I just make up a word? I went through the historical. Do I have to put on this light? Looks like I'm bleeding out on you guys. All right, we'll see how that light looks. I went through the historical significance and context of the 12-hour chart. It's a historically significant view on Bitcoin. Because again, what you have to keep in mind is Bitcoin has limited price data. So as much as it adds additional level of credibility to look at higher time frames and look at weeklies and monthlies, etc. What we also have to recognize and appreciate is the fact that Bitcoin only goes back to, say, like 12 years of price data. So it doesn't have a lot of price data, right? So I've looked at the 12-hour chart, and I've identified a few key things in that chart. And what's very promising to see, and another premise that I've said to you guys, and you should know this by now if you've been subscribed, as you start to build bullish momentum on lower time frames, like a 12-hour chart, okay, if that bullish momentum is sustained, it starts to bleed over into higher time frames, which are more significant in nature. So these lower time frames, which again, no one else is talking about, 12-hour in this case, these lower time frames can be a leading indicator in terms of what may play out in the higher time frames. So the reason I say this, if all this is making sense, we are getting candle body closes above the 200 SMA. Well, you might say to me, well, we had some here, CBG, and we had some here, CBG, and we had one here, CBG. Yeah, but there's one more thing you need to look for, which I touched on my video. We have candle body closes above the 200. Now, what we want to see this 200 SMA flatten out, and we want to see the 50 curl above it. That is what we want. We want the 200 to flatten, and we want the 50 to curl above, and then eventually for the 200 to curl up. That is known as a golden cross on the 200 SMA, okay? So very encouraging to see on the 12-hour chart that we have prices above 17,900. Let's hold the price. Let's hold the Bitcoin price above 17,900. Because as long as we can do that, what's going to happen is this 200 simple moving average from a mathematical standpoint, the way it's calculated, it's going to flatten out. It's going to flatten out. And it's going to cause the more recent moving average, based on the more recent price data, the 50, to continue to curl up. So let's stay above 17,900. Stay above 17,900. Again, a chart no one else has talked about. I'm very on top of YouTube and Twitter. No one else is talking about the 12-hour on Bitcoin. I'm the only person that has been covering the historical significance on the 12-hour, so keep an eye on it. Ethereum, we've sort of been in this downward, potentially falling wedge pattern here. Now, the thing I want you to keep in mind with Ethereum is it is the king altcoin. So the strength of Ethereum is going to somewhat dictate the strength of altcoins. Well, we can see, look at the gray line. Maybe I'll make this more apparent for you. I'll do it like this, all right? We can see we're sort of building in a wedge formation here, right? Sort of building in this wedge formation. And we're tackling resistance in this red zone between like, I don't know, what the hell is the resistance here? Like 13 to 1400. Okay, look at us pressing right up here. Now, what I ultimately want to see, I'll keep it real simple on Ethereum. Let's break this. We have a low, we have a high, we have a higher low. Let's get up above here. We have another area of descending resistance here and resistance at about 1800. Let's get above 2,000 bucks. Let's get above and stay above 2,000. That's what I'm looking for on Ethereum, very simplistically stated. Now, the other thing with Ethereum that we can take a look at is the Ethereum BTC relativity. You guys know, I have seen a lot of people on Twitter say for months this was going to dump. I haven't seen a dump. You know what I've been saying? This thing is expressing massive strength. We're pressing up against this line, okay? I am anticipating this line to break. Now, what does this actually mean if the relativity on ETH BTC breaks? We're going to start to test our prior all-time highs and more than likely create new all-time highs. What that means is there's more strength in Ethereum, and ultimately, guys, don't miss this point, very important, there's more strength that's going to come in all of the altcoins relative to Bitcoin. Well, looky lottie dotty da. Let's look at the Bitcoin dominance because that touches right off of the Ethereum BTC. If you followed what I just said about the Ethereum BTC relativity chart, this flows right into the Bitcoin dominance chart. As the dominance is dropping, it means altcoins are gobbling up a greater percentage of the market share, market capitalization of the entire crypto industry. We are in a bear flag descending triangle. Nothing has changed. Guys, I've been beating this one over the head for a reason. On this channel, there is a reason why I consistently cover the same charts. Because you need to be on top of these charts. Because these charts will, in some ways, in some of these charts will create, they'll be a leading indicator to what's going on. Or they'll help to create a holistic view in terms of the entire market. Okay, you are behind the 8 ball. You are behind the game if all you're doing is looking at a USD chart of Bitcoin or Ethereum or Solana or XRP. If that's all you're doing, you're losing out. You have to look at all these additional charts that I'm speaking to here. So nothing has changed here. We're still getting resistance here as expected. Okay, and I expect this thing to massively break down this year. DXY just tweeted this out. DXY has been on a parabolic, look, a parabolic, I just made up another word. It's been on a parabolic move. Look at this thing. Look at that parabola. And now it's breaking down. What have I said about parabolas? Parabolas are a beautiful thing on the way up, but on the way down, they haven't created the stair steps. It's a tree with no tree branches. So when you fall, you don't have limbs to grab onto. You just fucking free fall, all right? That's why Bitcoin crashed so hard in 2018. Well, so far we broke 108, 105, and now we're destined for 101, okay? So the DXY falling is very good for crypto and equities because it has an inverse relationship to those. And speaking of equities, let's get into the S&P. This is very positive to see. The MACD is almost going to cross positive here. We have an ascending triangle in the RSI, which is bullish. We have everyone and their mother on mainstream media, on news articles, calling for a massive recession in 2023, which is bullish in my opinion, because I tend to take the contrarian view, and it has benefited me well over the years, and I will continue to take the contrarian view. I do not think we're going to have a massive recession in 2023. I think a massive recession will occur when when the herd expects it least. Guys, resistance, 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 resistance. We are pressing up against resistance on the S&P weekly. Now, we are above the 21 EMA. I have covered this moving average plenty of times, and I'm not going to speak to it again because you can go back to prior videos and watch. But this line at 43.25, I have it memorized. I don't need to click on it to see what it is. Ultimately, what we want to see price on the S&P push above 43.25. Let me tell you something. One chart to keep open, okay? Keep the S&P open. Keep an eye on the S&P. We are at 39.83. When you see that we are above 43.25, there is a very high probability, that we are going to continue churning up and create higher highs and higher lows, and we will create new all-time highs in equities this year. Now, why is that good for crypto? Well, guys, I don't know if you know this. Well, the ladies, guys and girls, I don't know if you know this, but crypto is a risk-on asset. So it is highly positively correlated to the equity market. What does positively correlated mean? Positively correlated means as something goes up, the other thing goes up. As something goes down, it goes down. If it's negatively inverted, as something goes up, inversely related, as something goes up, the other thing goes down, and vice versa. Okay. In this case, crypto is positively correlated with the S&P. So what I'm saying is, if we start to see the S&P, which I'm expecting, if we start to see this year the S&P close above 43.25, you can bet your bottom dollar that more than likely we're going to see new all-time highs in the S&P this year, which will be massively beneficial to the entire crypto market. Okay? Just like when the stock market overall, when the S&P and the Dow Jones Industrial Average, okay? Well, we'll get into the Dow in a minute here. When the S&P and the Dow and the stock market corrects, okay? Crypto takes a harder hit, okay? I know, I've joked with you guys, okay? I have gone from a fleet of Lambos to a fleet of Geometros. So I'm very familiar with this concept. But in all seriousness, when the stock market corrects, crypto sees a harsher correction, okay? When the stock market appreciates and is doing well for itself, crypto has historically far outpaced the equity market, okay? Something to keep in mind. Now, when we go to the Dow, and I've commented on this in the past, typically, if you go back in history, what you see as the S&P and Dow recover, they recover in unison, meaning when the lows are set in for the Dow and the S&P, they occur relatively within the same time frame, and they begin to create higher highs and higher lows and recover at the same time. We have not seen that this time. As you can see, the Dow has cleared this resistance. And now, all it's done, it's stayed above. This is on the weekly on the Dow. It has stayed above this blue line, the 21 exponential moving average. This looks to be a leading indicator at the moment for the S&P, okay? We have already this week, so far, if we can close above this line here, we have cleared an essential high here at 33, we'll call it 33,800, okay? 33,800. Ultimately, what we want to see prices get above 34,700 on the Dow. That's the last high that came in here after this bounce. If we start to clear 34,700 on the Dow, we can have a much higher level of conviction that we're going to start to challenge this lower high and then ultimately the all-time high to create new highs this year. Guys, keep in mind, I've reiterated this so many times on my channel on Twitter. If you follow me at Crypto Bull God, if you are following the popular narrative and you're listening to CNN or you're listening to Fox News or MSNBC, do you like how I cover all the political affiliations? Because I am not political. You guys are losing out. You need to do your due diligence, and you need to make you need to ascertain what's going on in the market for yourself. I personally prefer to view alternative news outlets. I do not like to go to mainstream media. The only thing I like to look at mainstream media for is to understand what 95% of the people in the population are thinking right now. Oh, this is the garbage that's being put out there. This is what people believe. Okay, well, that's interesting. So I might do that from time to time. You guys need to figure out for yourself what's going on. I'm looking at these charts, and I'm saying right now there is reason to believe that the S&P and Dow Jones will create new all-time highs this year. And what that means for crypto is a rate of appreciation that far outpaces the stock market, okay? I know that I am alone I'm not alone. I'm on an island with about 5 other people that feel this way. I know that most people are not saying this. But this is my educated view on the market. Have I been wrong before? Abso-fucking-lutely. Will I be wrong again? Abso-fucking-lutely. Could I be correct? Yes, because I've been correct before. I'm going to be wrong and I'm going to be right. And I'm very open to being correct or incorrect. And we'll have to see how this plays out. But for right now, my educated view, and I'm sticking behind it, is we are going to see some movements in the market that most people are not expecting. So that's kind of what I see playing out in the charts at the moment. Let's see if we have any questions here that I can help to address before we call the happy hour adjourned. By the way, I would like to call out the fact that no one in the comments has commented, not a single person has commented what they are having for happy hour this evening. The fuck is up with that? Can you please share with me? I don't care if you have a glass of water. Please share it. And let's see what we got here. I don't see the crypto bull goddess. The fuck is up with that? All right, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Let's see what we got. Yeah, Brian. If you want to take heavy profits at 30,000 Bitcoin, I'm not going to fault you for that. The question, and this is a subjective question. Okay, it's subjective, meaning it's personal to the individual and the assessment of their own risk tolerance level and investment or trading strategy. Right? That sounded so technical, right? Um, if you are invested in Bitcoin, for the very long term future, and that's all your money is invested in Bitcoin, you're not going to want to sell 30,000. It doesn't make any sense. But if you have a portion of your portfolio that's looking to trade Bitcoin, and we start to entertain levels, like let's actually take a look at this. If you're looking to swing trade a portion of your portfolio, yeah, I would say, roughly, if we start to get up towards the 28, we start to get up towards 28.5 to 29.5, yeah, I think it would make sense to take some profits, okay? Because there's a big area of movement that it could occur in here, but there's a large area of resistance that could occur right around 28.5 to 29.5. So I can understand. It just all depends on your investment or trading philosophy. So I don't fault you for that. High noons are great, Brian. I like high noons a lot. Be curious what flavors you've had. For the high noons, my favorite flavors are I've had pear. Pear is very good. I like pineapple. What was the other one I had? What the hell was the other flavor I had? Pineapple, pear. Well, I love cherry. Anything cherry. Like I'm a huge cherry fan. Lime is classic. Like can't go wrong with lime. Oh, I know. Shit. The tropical fruit. Is it passion fruit or guava? Oh, no, it's guava. It's guava. Guava is actually one of my favorite fruits. Fun fact. Hey, Crypto Ryan showing up. The clicker is in the other bedroom. I brought my clicker with me and I don't have it. Glad to see you, Crypto Ryan. By the way, for everyone here, take a look in the chat. Crypto Ryan 17. He has his own YouTube channel that I'm subscribed to. He puts out some really good content. Proficient Elliott wave analysis analyst. Does a really good job of explaining the charts. I think his channel, in my opinion, is something that you're going to see grow significantly over time here. So check out his content. He's a more smaller known TA person in the space at the moment, like myself, and I think he provides some good value added content. Check him out. Yeah, pineapple's very good. All right, guys. Anybody have any questions for me? I always do the Q&A. If nobody has any questions for me, look, I have some notifications here. Let's check out the notifications. Yeah, I tweeted this out earlier. It is nice to see some healthy green. It's just, in general, we've been I've said this before, this has been the most brutal, I got you, Crypto Ren. Most brutal correction I've been a part of. It's nice to see an uptrend in the market. Let's see what we got here. Bitcoin right now. We're going to close in 56 minutes on the daily. Bitcoin is just about at 19,000. Just about at 19,000. That holy crypto trinity, H-bar and 1 and mana. Man, everything is just so cheap right now, in my opinion. And I know cheap is relative. It's what the market says it's worth. But, I mean, it is so fucking cheap right now. Um, wow. I own so many of these cryptos. I'm like looking at this list like right now, and I'm like, what cryptos don't I own from this list? I could go through all my lists with you. I'm like, what cryptos don't I own? That's my one fault. I think I almost own my portfolio is too wide. I need to narrow the net. Um, does anybody have any TA questions? I will take and I'll. So fun fact. Without going into details, the past 2 days, the alarm has gone off. Okay, I really want you to listen on this one. The alarm has gone off at 3:45 a.m. for the past 2 days. So I'm a little tired. It's 6 o'clock in the evening here. I'm ready to make dinner because there's only one person in this household who makes dinner. Uh, just telling the truth. And so I got to go down and make dinner. But I wanted to see at least if there's one TA question. If there's not, I'm bouncing. And I will. So the next time I'll be back with you guys, I'll be back on Sunday or Monday for a live stream on the weekly close. A lot of exciting things going on right now. Keep in mind, before you guys drop off here, just hear me out for 1 second here. Um, Keep in mind, one of the things we need to be mindful of as we start to get a bounce here, I've spoken to the fact that volume precedes price. We need to see volume come in to feel convicted that the price movement is real. The other thing to keep in mind, though, is people are so blah about the market that as we continue to bounce here, which I suspect, a lot of people are going to say this is a dead cat bounce and we're going to roll over. I do not think that's the case. So at some point, what happens is when the market becomes so salty because we've just done this, everyone thinks we're going down. So as the market starts to truly recover, we're truly recovering, everyone continues to say it's a dead cat bounce and lower lows are coming in. Be mindful of that. Be mindful of that. Because there is no person in this market who can tell you with 100% certainty what's going to happen. Okay? If that was the case, I wouldn't have been incorrect in my assertion that the market was going to have a blow off top when I said it would. I was absolutely incorrect with that. But what tends to happen is the emotional bias sways one way or the other. Okay. And the emotional bias right now, okay, the emotional bias is very bearish and everything's going down. So keep in mind as we continue to bounce here, a lot of people are going to say dead cat bounce, dead cat bounce, dead cat bounce as we continue to go higher. What level are you willing to say, like, I concede this is not a dead cat bounce, we're really recovering in price? So keep that in mind. I've been DCAing. I have been exchanging more fiat for crypto than I thought I was going to last year. Okay, and I think I will be rewarded handsomely for it. I just have to remain patient, as all of you should be. So, oh, okay, good question. We're going to close out the live stream with this. Brian has a really good question. Let's get the picks, the NFL picks of the week. I'm glad you asked this question. Okay, my NFL picks are this. Okay, San Francisco, check. Cincinnati, check. Jacksonville, interesting. You know what? I'll go with that. Jacksonville wins at home. They've been hot. They've been the hot hand. For you guys that watch NFL or watch sports, it's the hot team going in, which is why I'm nervous for the Eagles a little bit. It's the hot team going in that ultimately usually gets to the Super Bowl. So I agree with you. Jacksonville I'll go with. And, I mean, full disclosure, I've said Northern Florida, I'm in Jacksonville. So Jacksonville, hey, go Jaguars. Buffalo, check. Tampa Bay beating Dallas, check. And for the upset, the only thing you said, Brian, you said you're not touching the Giants, Vikings, my friend. I got a level with you. All right. I think the Giants are going to upset the Vikings. So I think the Vikings are a one and done. I think the Giants are going to win. I think the Giants are coming to Philly. It's going to be Philly and Giants, New York next week, which I'm confident. I'm really confident about. The only thing I don't like about that game is you never want to play a team a third time. We've beaten them twice. That's the only thing that makes me nervous about that game is you got to play a team a third time. So I think it'll be Eagles, Giants. It'll be Tampa and San Francisco. and then it'll be, I don't know in the AFC how that falls out. It'll be Cincinnati, Jacksonville, Buffalo, and Kansas City. I forget how that falls out. I guess it'd be Jacksonville going to Cincinnati, which would be, or Jacksonville going to Kansas City, which would be interesting, and then Cincinnati going to Buffalo. I think that's the way it works. So we're on the same page. There's nothing. Actually, I don't disagree with you with anything. The only thing I'm doing is calling New York over Minnesota. All right, guys. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm glad to be back. It's been a very long time. If you're not following me currently, you can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on YouTube. You can follow, obviously on YouTube, right? You can follow me on TradingView, and you can follow me on Instagram. One word. It's right here. Crypto Bull God. So with that being said, thank you everyone for tuning in. Until next time, spread awareness and carry that motherfucker. Ooh. Carry that motherfucking education forward. Appreciate it, guys. Take care. I'll see you on